to just finish the tournament on a high, because there's nothing worse than losing your final round match. And we've seen Duda struggle, so he will come up, he will try to level up and play the big boss. You know, this is what he's here for, to challenge his closest tour rival. And they're off. And we see that the game has opened with the G-pawn moving 1 square forward.
Yeah, 1 B3 we saw yesterday from Magnus, and now it's 1 G3. But
is as strange?
It's not quite as strange. He has transposed the position now into an English opening, and it's what we call the symmetrical English. Because look at the pawn structure, look at the pieces. It's completely symmetrical. Duda playing copycat, and this has quite a good reputation for Black. This exact position, Black is very flexible. You can push a bunch of different pawns here. Black's knight can come out. What will Duda choose? He pushes this pawn. Now, White usually here either castles or pushes the white pawn in the centre a couple of squares. This is an alternative as well. Magnus, he mentioned that word attack in his interview with Tanya, and he's going for the attack. It's only move 6, and he's pushed the h-pawn forward, trying to continue pushing. And if he does get the opportunity to push Harry the h-pawn 1 square further forward, Black will seriously have some issues to deal with.
And in looking at the database, I can see that this was a specialty of Magnus in 2019. He used it to draw with the white pieces against Rustam Kazimazhanov and also Wesley So.
Oh.
So for some reason, it's kind of fallen out of favour with Magnus, but it's back. It's also been popular with Anish Giri. He's also played it twice. Wang Hao, Michael Adams. I mean, this is a very established move.
Yeah, I think I faced it myself before in some blitz games, in some rapid games, and it is surprisingly scary. White is keeping his king in the centre, and White often keeps the king in the middle for a lot longer. Essentially, he's saying to Black, I'm going to keep pushing the h-pawn. You can not really castle safely on this king side anymore, on the left side of the board, on the right side, sorry, just because you're going to come under fire there. And Duda, as Black, you're kind of committed to a plan. Black's last pawn move, pushing the pawn to e6, has created a square for his knight, but I don't think you can play automatic moves anymore. This is very much what Duda likes to do. Actually, against me once, he pushed the h-pawn forward on move 3. He likes to kind of start attacking. He doesn't want to be on the back foot reacting. And, there's some theory here as well. I remember some games with some Indian youngsters. Sadwani won a very instructive game here a while ago.
Yeah, and I can tell you that there are 2 very popular moves. The most popular move by far is actually to lift Black's h-pawn 1 square forward, getting ready to meet White's pawn advance with a block. And another alternative is actually just to develop the knight, but that isn't as popular. Another less popular one is actually to pick up the h-pawn and block the h4 pawn immediately.
So either way, we're expecting Duda to at least prepare to react to White's h-pawn push. Either way, it's early days, and Magnus, he's got the music going. He's in his comfort zone. He's at the, well, on top of the world right now. He must be feeling so high, so happy with his performance.
And confident as well. These 2 players have played each other 36 times in rapid chess over the past 2 seasons of the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour. 18 wins for Magnus against Duda. You said it many times, Ivanka. Magnus has been very dominant against Duda, and I guess this is proof.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of traditionally been the soundtrack. You know, it's always been like Magnus playing fantastic chess. You know, he's almost been able to play anything against Duda and managed to win. But these last 2 matches that they've played in the Crypto Cup and the AIM Chess, it's been Duda who's actually won. So, not so easy.
Yeah, and it's often in the biggest clashes in the finals or, for example, in the World Cup semi-final. Duda triumphed there in the rapid tie-breaks. Duda ended Magnus's long unbeaten run. In the last major, Duda won. So it's often the big matches where Duda saves his best. It's normally in the prelim stage where Magnus just kind of rolls over Duda. It's often when Duda has nothing left to play for, that's when bad things happen. So it just depends on Duda's motivation. If he's really focused, if he's determined to beat Magnus yet again, then I think he's capable.
We have seen something from Duda, which is he has a tendency to tilt. And when things go really wrong, they can go catastrophically wrong. And I do remember in the Oslo Esports where Magnus just opened with this really bizarre 1F3. And it wasn't serious, but it really put off Duda. And he just couldn't recover, and Magnus won in 3 games.
Psychological victory for Magnus in that match.
Yeah, that's one area that Duda needs to put serious work in. He got to the candidates, of course. He won the World Cup, but I think in order to break into the top 5, top 10 in the world consistently, Duda needs to just be a bit more stable and keep those emotions in check. And meanwhile, there have been a few moves on the board. Both sides have castled, so White has gone away from the plan of pushing the H-pawn up, but he has forced a breakthrough in the centre. And if we jump in, Jovanka, I'm curious, this position is brand new to me. Has it been played before?
Nope, is the simple answer. I mean, this bishop move, totally unusual, never been played. It's been much more common to actually capture the knight on c6 or capture a pawn in the middle of the board. But having said that, the players were already in a variation which had only been played 4 times. So it wasn't like they were in mainstream waters.
Yeah, and this last move by Magnus, it's very, very provocative. He's asking Duda, for example, to jump forward with his knight to try and attack this bishop. I'm assuming here, well, you can't let this bishop be captured, you will lose the bishop pair and your pawn structure will be damaged. So I'm assuming Magnus wants to move his bishop yet again, attacking the black queen. And finally, we do see a purpose for this odd-looking pawn move on h4. It looks like the pawn's just doing nothing there, but it does protect the bishop. White gains time against the queen, and black's center might fall apart next move. So that's one idea that might not quite work for Duda right now. You can't really release the central tension. If you take this pawn, then after knight takes knight, suddenly black has some very weak pawns, and these will fall off over the next few moves. For example, White's bishop can already start getting greedy. And, OK, Duda deciding not to release the tension. He's just waiting. He shuffles his rook across. He's asking Magnus to take in the centre now, because after a trade of pawns, black's rook comes to life. And this is a very thematic exchange sacrifice, as we call it. For example, if White ignores the threat of rook takes bishop, then I think this is automatic for Duda. You capture a bishop. Yes, you've given up a rook in return, but White's structure is eternally damaged, and huge weaknesses, especially on the dark squares. For example, the bishop can already come to target this pawn, and this type of idea I've seen in many games. I first saw it in a game by Garry Kasparov many years ago, and I think this is what Duda is aiming for. But Magnus, he won't be so compliant. He won't allow this to happen. Yeah,
if Magnus allows this to happen, I would be very shocked.
I bet my house he's not going to let this happen. So Magnus, maybe he'll take on this square, but he definitely won't allow this second capture of the dark square bishop. That holds White's position together.
Yeah. Critical moment in the game. I do like Duda's rook move, even though the bar doesn't necessarily like it. I like the fact that it's a very flexible move, and black is signalling to push those pawns, but at the same time hasn't committed to doing anything concrete just yet, and is now up to Magnus. You know, all the choices in his hands. You know, capture the knight, capture the pawn as you indicated, or is he going to develop or something?
Yeah, for example, he could keep the tension, just shuffle his rook across, but the calculation is starting to happen. It's getting very concrete in this brand new position. Already both players on their own. It's only move 11.
I do like that. Remember, it's a match with 4 rapid games. The winner in the rapid portion takes $7,500 and 3 points. If it goes to tie breaks, then the winner gets $5,000 and the loser $2,500. And what do you think is the most likely in this one? Will Magnus just keep on being dominant like over the last few days, or could it go to tie breaks, for example?
Yeah, that's the thing, because if we just look at this tournament alone, it's pretty straightforward to say Magnus is in charge, Magnus is on a roll, Magnus is focused. But I think Jovanka and I, we've both seen so many examples throughout chess history of players achieving their goals and then taking the foot off the pedal and not being able to kind of play at their best anymore. It happened to me when I got my Grandmaster title. I still had a couple of games left in that tournament, and I just couldn't get my head back in the game. And I've won a few tournaments with a round to spare, 2 rounds to spare, and it's so hard to focus. So anything could still happen. Duda is the type of player as well where, yes, he can go on really bad runs, but if you just give him one chance, then his confidence perks right up, and he's a very streaky player. If he starts winning, he might not stop. So the first game or 2, I think, will be essential to decide.
So it is a mental game very much for Magnus Carlsen today as well. He is thinking now on his next move, and we couldn't finish off the season without saying hello to someone who has been a regular in this studio throughout the whole season. Grandmaster Simon Williams, Ginger GM. Hi, it's so nice to see you, Simon.
Hi there. Yeah, it's good to pop in. I'm a little bit late this time on arriving, but yeah, it's really cool to see you all and say hello. I'm afraid I'm in a little bit of a dark room at the moment, but I'm here in spirit anyway. So,
Fantastic.
Are you all doing okay?
We are. It's been a fun week of chess, right?
Yeah, but we have missed you, Simon,
Yes.
very much.
Mutual.
Yeah. Have you been following the tour finals? What have you thought of it, Simon?
Oh, is there a tournament going on? Oh, right. No. Yeah, no, I have a bit, and just Magnus has been incredible, right? Playing amazing chess, and I love their view that they've got over the bridge and everything. It looks fantastic, the whole event. So quite jealous of everyone there.
Oh, I agree. And looking back at the whole season, it's been 9 tournaments, a bunch of days. We've seen a bunch of different players, young ones, older ones, women, men. What has been a highlight for you? What will you remember from the 2022 season?
Well, I think personally, being in the studio with you lovely people and everyone behind the scene, and I don't know if everyone watching this stream understands like just how many brilliant people there are over in Norway who make it so much fun, the broadcast. And obviously the chess. I mean, the chess has been great, right? It's been really exciting. The format's been top level, and just the players we've had. Some of the games that have been played have been like riveting to watch, and also a couple of nights out to remember as well. So yes, so it's been good all round for me, from a personal point of view and from a chess point of view.
Yeah. You made a fantastic debut in the studio, Simon, and we had so much fun with you in the studio. You've been at the Good Night reporting this season, and you've had many good comments, and we have something we want to show you. And we have to shift the camera to David for it to be possible for us.
Oh no,
to
what
show
is
it.
David doing?
I've got a very
Oh no, I'm getting worried now. David, please, you don't need to strip too much. I know. Oh my words, what is happening here? Oh.
I don't know if you can see it. There we go, Simon, just for you.
I love it. Just resign.
Yes.
Your catchphrase.
I like the T-shirt. That's really cool. That's really good. Yeah, I'm glad you are wearing a T-shirt, David. I was getting a little bit worried there for a moment. So, or
Only
excited maybe. I'm not sure.
So, family-friendly stuff on this show.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome T-shirt.
Yeah.
Really cool.
We're going to make sure to send you one, Simon. That has been one of many of your catchphrases this season. Just resign. But do you think it's been mostly entertaining what the players been up to?
Yeah, I think it's been brilliant. I mean, like I say, we had so many of the top players playing and fighting. What I've loved about this season is there hasn't been any like really quick draws, right? There's been fighting chess from start to finish. We've had some really wacky openings. I mean, Magnus went a bit mental, didn't he, at one stage, or some of the weird stuff he was playing. So all in all, it's just been great. Yeah, really, really good fun to watch. And I hope everyone else watching has been enjoying it just as much as I have commentating with you guys in the studio.
It's really been a fun year. And talking of the T-shirt, Just Resign, we, of course, want to give a T-shirt to the viewers as well. So we're going to have a quiz of the day where the T-shirt is the prize. And, of course, we have to challenge Simon in the quiz of the day as well.
This is a tough one. We're putting you on the spot, Simon.
Oh, no, not again.
Are you ready?
This is like the normal theme, right?
This is from the 2021 season where we did this to you every day.
Yeah, we did.
Every day. It was a new surprise.
Okay. Joke you played on us, Simon.
Yeah.
And here it goes. So we're asking our viewers at home, and maybe you also, Simon, can have a go to caption this picture. And there we have Ramesh, and we have poor Prag fast asleep watching the basketball game.
Oh, wow. It looks a bit past his bedtime, doesn't it, really? I mean, it's like, and what's that guy doing in the background? So that's the other thing. So I don't know. I think Ramesh is just saying, like, here's the king. Here's my kid. He can get some sleep occasionally because he's the boss. He's a future world champion. Let him sleep, So something along those lines. But what's the guy doing in the background? He's like getting in there as well. So yeah, so impressive little photo there.
Yeah.
So where was that? That was at somewhere in San Francisco, right?
Yep. The 4 players in San Francisco went to a basketball game, Knicks versus the Warriors. And we know Magnus really enjoyed it, and Ish really enjoyed it. But Prag, Well, it had been a long day of chess.
I think he's like thinking, I just want to stick to the chess, right? I don't, you know, this basketball is not for me by the looks of that. So, yeah.
All right, Simon, we are finishing off the season today following game 1 here between Magnus Carlsen and Jan-Christoph Duda. I'm not sure if you can see the board, but if you can, I do see that Harry has been pushed in this game already. What do you think of the position?
Looks pretty even at the moment, I figure. I mean, obviously, I like this H-pawn, the wing pawn being pushed very early. One of the things I love doing all the time. Black's got a worse pawn structure, but they've also got potential, those pawns in the middle. So I think it's still quite early days. And I would say, you know, fairly equal at this moment in time. But I'm sure things will heat up quickly, right? So especially if that Harry pawn can just get pushing. Push him. Push the Harry.
Push the Harry.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Simon, it was so good to see you again. We wish you happy holidays when that time comes and hope to see you again in the 2023 season.
Cheers, everyone. You have a great day. So, okay. Great night, even.
Lucky you, Simon. Enjoy.
Will do.
Oh, so nice to see Simon Williams again. Ginger GM. He's been a regular in the studio, and we hope to see him back in the 2023 season. He said this could get interesting. Didn't really like the black pawn structure. So what is happening in this game?
Yeah, I have to completely agree with Simon. It's in the balance, but it is about to heat up. The pawn structure is very imbalanced here. We do see black with almost what we call hanging pawns in the centre. Black's C and D pawns, they protect each other, yes, but they're on open files. They are targets potentially for the white rooks. And black does have an isolated pawn, the A pawn. Duda was trying to push that as far down the board as possible. It's unclear exactly what the purpose was. Magnus has blocked that pawn now, the black A pawn, and he's saying, OK, what's your plan next? And I guess that's the dilemma for Duda right now. How does he improve the black pieces? They already look pretty well placed. It's hard to imagine, other than the black queen perhaps, how to improve any of them. And he is at a loss for a plan. He simply pushes his H-pawn this time to block. And Magnus does take the opportunity to centralise. Yeah.
I have to say, I agree with you there, David. It looks very unclear for Duda. I have to admit, I'm a bit baffled by Magnus's sophisticated play. I had something much more direct in mind. I thought that Magnus was going to perhaps just explode open the centre or just put the rooks on the open line. And instead, he's put his rook on a rather mysterious line. I mean, it's just blocked. It's looking at his queen and bishop. What does Magnus have in store? Is he planning to sidestep with the queen and go for the weak A-pawn?
Yeah, that could be one potential idea here for Magnus. Duda also down significantly on the clock. I think Magnus is just putting his pieces on good squares and saying, OK, it's up to you to create something. Like you said, this could be one idea. If black is too slow, white's queen sidestepping. And this is a severe weakness. I guess, as well, you're right, Jovanka, this is an annoying pin, so you can't push the white e-pawn anytime soon. But if you do move your queen out of the way, then there might be ideas. I just don't see what black is doing, for example. If black just makes a waiting move. One idea that I love for white in these types of positions, I'm not sure it's going to happen yet, but it might happen later, is to actually plant a bishop on this square. And it looks a bit counterintuitive, it looks anti-positional, because after a trade of bishops, white has doubled pawns. However, white has also the perfect hiding place for a king right now. The white king on this square on g2 is going to be safe forever, and then you can focus your attentions on the centre. I think Magnus is just saying now, for example, you can never push pawns as black, because after a trade here, the d-pawn is always going to be weak. So I think he's just lining up. He's just preparing for any pawn breaks for black. You can now win this pawn on d5. So, yeah, this is almost a waiting game here. But on the clocks, that is not favouring Duda right now. He's a very active player. OK, he doesn't move his queen. He moves his king instead. So Duda, very, very active player. He's going to be feeling uncomfortable. He wants to do something dynamic. He wants to attack. He wants to create threats. But he's reduced to just waiting moves. I guess the only idea behind this king move is to plant his bishop to attack the white queen. But is this really going to be that effective? It seems unlikely. White can always just move the queen out the way.
Yeah, unless your big plan is just to keep harassing the queen. And David, you called it. It's like you are channeling your inner Magnus.
Yeah. I mean, this pawn structure, Jovanka, if the bishops get traded, I don't think Duda should capture right now, but this pawn structure, it comes from the Caro-Kann defense, where black has doubled f-pawns. I've played some games in the Reti as white, where you get these pawns. In blitz games, this is just a winning position for white, essentially, because you put your king on this square, and the rest of the board you can worry about later. You just have a safe king, 4 pawns in front to protect. I also call this the bug house structure, because in a variant of chess, bug house chess, yeah, you'll never ever get checkmated with pawns like this. Meanwhile, Duda doesn't get tempted to capture. He does indeed start harassing the white queen. He hits her, and after the queen stepped forward, it looks like she's trapped, but Magnus found a nice way to counterattack. He traded off a set of pieces now, and he offers the queen trade. I'm surprised at this last couple of moves, I must admit. I thought Magnus had something more aggressive in mind, but he's hoping that after the queens come off the board, that black has a weak pawn on a4.
And it is a weak pawn. There's no way to defend that pawn, in fact.
Perhaps you could jump in with the black bishop just to defend. But, yeah, it does feel as if white now would have the opportunity maybe to blow open the centre of the board. Black does have the bishops, which makes me favour black. The computer loves bishops. That's why the evaluation bar has gone up in black's favour. These 2 pieces control a lot of squares. They control most of the squares that the white rooks want to use, actually. So perhaps things turning in Duda's favour. It does look like Magnus just rushed a bit. I was praising his play, but suddenly 2-3 moves later, the wrong exchanges perhaps, and it looks like black could be the one with the advantage. It's still not going to be easy for Duda to convert this, but he needs to perhaps even just give up this pawn and go active with his pieces.
Yeah.
There are also targets for the black rooks later on, remember. So, yeah, maybe you can start going for them now.
Yeah, I have to admit, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to point that out. Yes, the black pawn is weak, but so is white's b2 pawn. And I do like the potential of black's dark square bishop. It's so good. It can reroute itself as well to the long diagonal and soften up the white queen side. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really surprised, I must say. I thought Duda was just about to come under pressure, and Magnus, perhaps because he's won the tournament, just not really bothering to dive into a long, deep think. And, OK, slightly shaking his head there, the world #1, maybe realising that he had more promising alternatives earlier.
Maybe in a little bit of trouble here in the first game, Magnus Carlsen, but he has a lot of time on the clock. Right now it's Duda thinking. We just had Ginger GM on the show. He finished off with a little bit of a toast with his wine or beer. And if Simon got a beer for every time this season he has bet on the right move, he would constantly be very tipsy.
I think you'll find it. I mean, bet?
Yeah, maybe. Simon, what are we betting for about this pawn push?
I think the first drink tomorrow.
OK.
Yeah.
Deal.
So,
Very nice.
Yeah. Will Jan find this important pawn push? I owe you a drink, Simon.
I only drink champagne, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
OK, I'll tell you what, whatever the first choice is, I bet you that Magnus, you can choose if Magnus finds it or not to get your pint back. OK, what is the first move?
OK, the choice... Oh, wow, this is difficult. This is almost impossible. White's best. I don't think you'll find this.
Do you want to have a bet, then?
Another drink.
Another drink. OK. OK, good man.
No!
Boom, boom.
He has won a lot of bets against you, David.
Yeah, that was a very expensive night for me in Oslo, buying Simon drinks. Oh, but he's, yeah, he's just great at the prediction game, as are you, Jovanka.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you all are.
Yeah, well, we have our moments, don't we? The best is when we even get the blunders correct. It's like, whoa. And, well, talking about the prediction game, David kind of called it. He said black would be targeting the B pawn, and that's the move that has happened. And Magnus, just realising that he needs to accelerate the play, has broken the black stronghold in the centre.
Yeah, so we've seen a trade of pawns in the centre. We might see a trade of the light squared bishops, but it's all about whether black can take advantage now. Black's rook can capture on b2 anytime he wants. Black's bishop also has lots of targets. Look at all the white pawns. They're on dark squares. What does black have? Dark squared bishop. So to me, despite the evaluation bar being in the middle, it does feel like black is the only one who can play for advantage, but maybe just with this last couple of moves, it's too late. Maybe just all the pieces are flying off the board. It does look like Magnus has found a way to liquidate the position and force the draw.
Oh, will we see a draw in this game one? It is Duda thinking now. We're going to go to San Francisco. It is the final day of the Tour Finals with 4 players and Tanya on site in San Francisco. How are you guys doing on this final day, Tanya?
We're having so much fun here, Kaya. And even though we do have a winner of the tournament, I have to say the matchups today, I just love them. Some really epic fights here. Magnus is facing his nemesis, Duda. We've got an all-Indian clash with Prague against Arjun, so a big day of chess. And to enjoy all of that, we do have a young chess fan here with us. It is Seb. He is a local talent here from the Bay Area. Seb, welcome to the show. Are you enjoying yourselves?
Yes, I'm enjoying being here very much. It's a great experience to see the players in action and meet them.
I have to ask you, when did you start playing chess?
I started playing chess when I was 5 years old, but I didn't really play. All I did was know how to move the pieces, and I actually basically started playing chess for real tournaments when I was 10 years old, and when COVID hit, and from there.
We were at the Mechanics Institute earlier, and you were there as well. You got a chance to hang out with Prague, Anish, and Wesley. How was that for you?
It was great, getting to know them and seeing them in real life, not just online. And getting to know their personality, meeting them, showing off and telling stories, I guess.
Did you have a fun chat with them?
Yeah, I showed them my board, all my autographs, and they were very intrigued by it.
So cool. And you're here today. Are you looking forward to meeting Magnus?
Yes, he's the one that I've left out of all 4. I'm very excited, especially because he is the king of chess. Good at blitz, bullet, rapid, classical.
Now, I remember back at the Institute, you mentioned that you're rooting for Wesley. You must be happy to see that he's won all his 4 matches.
Yeah, I'm very happy that he had a great comeback. Especially, I think this cause was from the Global Chess Championship. Even though he lost the first 2 games, he came back and is doing better.
I have to ask you, there's so many great players here in the US. Who is your personal favorite?
My favorite chess player in the US is probably Hikaru Nakamura, because I love playing blitz, and he's like the best blitz player. And I also like Wesley So, his personality and his kindness.
Yeah, he's super kind. Do you think Hikaru is the strongest when it comes to speed chess?
Yes, I feel like he's probably going to win the speed chess championship coming up tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, I wish him good luck.
Wow, and Kaya, there is a little story here with Seb and Hikaru. This was at the candidates. Tell us about this. It's a nice score sheet.
So I was playing in the Chess Kid candidates during the candidates that happened in the morning. So we finished in the morning, and after I finished in the morning, the FIDE arbiter of the tournament, Anastasia, she went and gave me the score sheet of Hikaru Ding Liren, the first game. I was so happy, and I went down since Hikaru and Ding finished, and I got them both to sign the autographs on each. And I think this is Hikaru's handwriting. I'm not sure.
Wow, so the top chess players continue to inspire the young generation. Lots of moves happening, lots of inspiring moves happening on the chessboard right now. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Sebastian and Tanya. How cool is that score sheet? That could actually be the next world champion signing that Ding Liren, who will play Jan Nepomniachtchi next year for the world championship title. Very cool. Very cool. Do you guys keep your score sheets?
I keep all of them. Wow. I don't think I've ever been to score sheet. I know Jovanka's different, though.
Ivanka doesn't keep them. And if Ivanka loses, she rips them up.
Oh, that must be the best feeling. Oh, just like...
Because it's like all that bad karma gone. And yeah, but I do keep memorabilia. I do like to keep little tokens. And
you take the pieces and stuff?
Not advocating that at all. No.
Just bringing the whole board. I'll take this home as a memory.
That's just theft. Yeah. And then we see the king escape from the king side and move towards the center. And whilst the players are thinking, I do want to share with you one very nice tweet from Maritza, who tells us the bigger the pout, the better the game. And she's done a drawing of our favourite gold medalist commentator. And she's got your autograph there as well, David.
Shout out to Maritza. Yeah, I think we met briefly in Chennai. Maritza was playing as well in the Olympiad. And yeah, I'm honoured. Thank you. Yeah, I think that picture was based on one of the games that I played there as well.
I can see with the England jacket.
That's right, yeah, the England blazer that we're very proud of. Am I wearing the same shirt here that I was there? That's embarrassing.
The pink one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool.
Thank you, Maritza.
Yeah.
A talented artist drawing a talented chess player. It's very nice.
Yeah. And in the meantime, the pawns have moved up the board, but I'm fully expecting the white rook just to move 2 squares to get behind black's passed c-pawn. And, oh, he gives a check first.
Yeah. That shows that Magnus is playing for the win. He really shouldn't get too carried away. He should try and play this safe over the next few moves, because black's rook and bishop do actually combine better than white's rook and knight. But yeah, it should still be within the drawing margins here. White did have the opportunity to force a draw, as you mentioned, Ivanka. If you go for black's c-pawn in time, yes, you lose your a-pawn as white, but those 2 pawns on the left side will disappear. It's completely symmetrical on the other flank. Dead draw. But suddenly, where's white's knight going? Is Magnus really going to get greedy and try and grab some of those black pawns on the right side? Because then you're forgetting about the black c-pawn. And look at this. Suddenly a check. White's knight is getting kicked away. The black pawn might be motoring forward. Is Magnus on tilt? He's got 10 minutes. He hasn't used any time at all. It's just... it feels to me as if he's already risking significantly here.
Yeah.
He needs to pull that handbrake and say, OK, let's find a draw now. Because black's pieces are just looking fantastic. Black's king as well. It's a valuable piece in these types of endgames. It can shepherd pawns forward. White's knight retreating.
I just feel that Magnus is being complacent. He feels like he can play almost anything he likes and it will still be a draw. But he's taking such big risks here because, as you say, black's pieces are swarming forward. And you've got to always remember, when it comes to the endgame, it's the quality of the pawns, not the quantity. So in terms of quality, it just depends on like how far advanced they are up the board, whether they can promote easily. And there we see Duda just attacking the knight. Knight will have to move or be defended.
Yep. I'm expecting maybe the king to retreat and defend this, but yeah, where are you going with your knight? You have to run to some very awkward squares if you want to find safety. Maybe Magnus was just having one eye on the clock. He sees that Duda's down at 1 minute and he thought, OK, I'm going to take some calculated risks, some measured risks. But 1 minute for a player like Duda is still a lot of time. So it is time to backtrack, to backpedal and try to play safe. I advocate just defending that knight now with the white king. And I think it's still OK. Because white's pawn, white's a6 pawn, will cause a distraction at some point. White's rook will be able to slide behind, attacking that black c pawn, maybe giving some checks later. So there's enough defensive resources, but suddenly the tightrope is narrowing.
Ooh.
You have a very small path to hold the draw with white.
Okay. I reckon that Magnus will not defend that knight.
Yeah, you think he'll move it?
No, I think he's going to move his rook to the 8th row.
OK, that would be very sneaky, Ivanka. So this position should be a draw, but there's always tricks involved. And Magnus could set a little trap here just by ignoring the threat on this knight. This is very pretty. Just stepping forward with the white rook. And now if the knight is captured, then white would win. A check and a skewer. The king has to run out the way. The next move, the black rook would drop. And white will make a new queen. So it's never too late to set traps. That would also be very interesting. The reason you plant the rook forward 1 square is because right now, yes, the knight is attacked, but you can't come back and check because black's bishop covers that square. So you just threaten to jump to a light square. And yeah, I guess here, just to illustrate why we think this will be a draw eventually, black's pawn at some point will start to push. And maybe white has better here even, but just as an example, the white rook will slide behind, this pawn will disappear, this pawn will disappear, and yeah, the kingside structure here on the right side, no way to make headroads into that one, so dead draw.
Okay, dead draw. There is now 55 minutes left to cast your vote for the best game of the Champions Chess Tour season 2022. Only 55 more minutes. So the way to do it is you head to chess24.com/tour. If you scroll just a little bit down, you will find the vote. There are 9 games you can vote for. You'll find the link to the Chess24 site where you can check the games. There's also videos for each of the games. Magnus is nominated for a few of them. Duda is also nominated in a few of them. There is that big Mamedyarov game when he beat Anish Giri. There are 9 different games, and you have now 55 minutes to cast your vote. This is one of the bonus prizes this season, so the winners, the 2 players in that game, will get a big bunch of that bonus prize fund, which is over $80,000 big right now. Magnus nominated for quite a few of them. Actually, I think there's 2 Carlsen Duda games that you can vote for.
Wow, yeah. I mean, these 2, they've had some real ding-dong battles throughout the year. And, OK, with this last move, Magnus didn't go for the draw. We saw the white king poke its head out. Black checked the king back, and the position repeated itself once. And Magnus is playing on. He's attacking this black bishop, but I'm wondering what happens here if, for example, black tries to keep things simple and just takes the white knight. Does white have anything better than taking the black bishop? Then we would see a draw most likely. Still, Ivanka?
Yeah, I mean, I would actually be tempted to try to play for more. You know, Magnus is taking risks. Why can't black do the same? I would be tempted just to retreat the bishop 1 square forward.
Yeah, back to c5? Or?
Yeah, back to c5 and kind of again ask the question. Or I could, if I was feeling super confident, actually I might even put the bishop on the d2 square, because after all, the bishop on d2 will guard the c1 square.
That's really ambitious, and Duda's ticking down to 30 seconds. If he moves his bishop, we'll see a lot of twists and turns ahead. I think if he wants to play it safe, if he wants to commit to the draw now, Duda, he'll just take the white knight with black's rook, but he's not got that much time. He looks away, maybe in a bit of frustration there, Duda, but now we will see the game steer towards a draw. The bishop disappears. Black's rook has got to go after that white a-pawn before it's too late. Put it back where it came from, that rook, and the game is automatically almost a draw. There's no way to keep these 2 pawns on the board.
And before the game quickly fizzles out, we do have a Caption This competition where you can answer using the hashtag #ChessChamps. And there the rook does go behind the pawn. The game is going to fizzle out. And
any second now, they'll find a way to repeat the moves.
OK.
There we go. A check. The king and rook do a little dance. The position repeats itself. And it has been a hard-fought game, but it is a draw.
First game in their match, a draw. Magnus Carlsen taking a big sip of the liquid death, the nice water, sparkling water that they are drinking in Shack 15.